The last thing my 5-year-old son Leo said before drifting off to sleep wasn't, "I love you, Mommy." It wasn't a request for one more story. His voice, soft as a secret and heavy with a child's terrible honesty, cut through the warm, sleepy dark of his bedroom. "Mommy?" he whispered, his tiny finger pointing a trembling accusation at the shadowy void beneath his race car bed. "Why does the lady with the shiny shoes crawl out from under there when you're gone?" The world stopped. The gentle hum of the baby monitor, the distant sigh of the central air, it all faded into a roaring silence. My blood, which had been warm with the contentment of being home, of holding my child, turned to ice water in my veins. I was frozen, a statue of a mother carved from pure, chilling dread. I had just returned from a 3-day business trip to our pharmaceutical company's flagship plant upstate. I was Elena Vance, head of global R&D, a woman who balanced boardroom battles and bedtime stories. My husband, Marcus, was a celebrated commercial real estate developer. Our life in our restored Brooklyn brownstone was a curated masterpiece of success, or so I believed. I forced my lips into a wobbly smile, a pathetic mask. "A lady, sweetheart? You must have had a dream. It's just dusty down there." But Leo, my serious, observant boy, shook his head with a vehemence that shattered my last hope. "No dream. She has shiny red shoes. Click-clack, click-clack. She comes out and then she and Daddy play the quiet game in his office. He said it's a secret, a grown-up secret." He snuggled deeper, murmuring the final, devastating blow. "He said if I tell, the shadow man will take my toys away." The quiet game, a secret. The words weren't just betrayal, they were a desecration. They poisoned the very air in my son's sanctuary. Marcus, my charming, ambitious husband, who'd kissed me goodbye so tenderly 3 mornings ago, who'd built this beautiful home and specifically insisted on designing Leo's room himself, choosing this heavy platform-style bed that sat flush with the floor. "For safety," he'd said, "so he never rolls out." A lie. It was a stage, a hiding place. I waited until Marcus's steady, fake snores filled our master suite. Then I moved. I am a scientist. My mind doesn't break, it analyzes. Grief is a luxury for later. First comes evidence. From my home office, I retrieved a high-resolution borescope camera, a tool for inspecting machinery, now turned inward to inspect the cancer in my own home. In the dead of night, I fed the flexible cable with its tiny LED eye into the impossibly narrow gap between Leo's mattress and the solid bed frame. The screen of my tablet illuminated, showing a grainy feed of dust bunnies and forgotten Lego pieces. Then, the camera edge found something else. Not floor, a seam, a perfectly cut rectangular seam in the subfloor, and beside it, the cold, sleek gleam of a hydraulic piston. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a hiding place for a mistress. This was an engineering project, a tunnel. The foundation of my life wasn't just cracking, it had been hollowed out from the start. The next day, I called in sick, the flu. Marcus fussed with performative concern, bringing me tea before leaving for his big closing. Anya, the live-in au pair from his hometown in Lithuania, took Leo to preschool, her movements quick, her eyes avoiding mine. Alone in the echoing brownstone, I became a detective in my own horror story. The tunnel from Leo's room led down, as I suspected, but not to a love nest. It terminated in Marcus's prized, soundproofed wine cellar, a room with a biometric lock to which I had never been granted access. Picking a lock is one thing, bypassing a digital guard is another, but science provides tools. A high-resolution thermal camera showed the keypad was slightly warmer where fingerprints most often landed. 4790. A date. Our anniversary. July 9th. The cruel poetry of it made me nauseous. The cellar hissed open. It wasn't a cellar, it was a command center. No wine racks. Instead, banks of monitors sold live feeds from hidden cameras all over our home. The kitchen, the living room, my home office, Leo's room. My skin crawled. We had never had privacy. On a large steel desk, neat files were stacked. I flipped through them with gloves on, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. File 1, Project Chimera. Detailed notes, in Marcus's handwriting, on a progressive cocktail of pharmaceuticals, benzodiazepines, low-dose antipsychotics, designed to induce confusion, memory loss, and emotional volatility. A timeline for administration. Target, Elena Vance. Objective, established pattern of mental decline for competency hearing. He wasn't just cheating, he was planning to erase me. File 2, Financials. My eyes scanned numbers that didn't make sense. Then they did. Marcus's empire was a house of cards, millions in debt to shadowy lenders. Our brownstone, my brownstone, inherited from my parents, was mortgaged to the hilt using forged documents with my signature. And the final page, a purchase agreement for my flagship pharmaceutical patent, the cure for a rare pediatric autoimmune disease I'd spent a decade developing. The buyer was our company's most ruthless competitor. The price? Enough to clear his debts. The condition? My removal from the board, deemed mentally unfit. File 3, Insurance Policies. Thick legalese documents. Life insurance policies on me, totaling $15 million. The beneficiary? Marcus Thorne. Contingency clauses citing accidental death, paid double. The pieces slammed together with the force of a physical blow. The affair with Anya was a distraction, a cheap thrill. The real plot was colder, more calculating. He was going to drug me into madness, have me committed, seize my assets, sell my life's work, and then collect on the insurance. But Tunnel wasn't for sneaking a mistress in. It was for making a wife disappear. I stood in that cold, blue-lit room, surrounded by the evidence of my own planned destruction. The love of my life was my assassin. The mother of his child was his mark. A fury, cold and precise, began to burn away the shock. It was a cleaner, sharper emotion than grief. It was purpose. I did not confront. I did not scream. To win against a strategist, you must become a better one. I began to play the part he had written for me. That night, when Marcus brought me my sleeping tonic, a glass of warm milk, I smiled vacantly. "Thank you, darling. You're so good to me." I took a tiny sip, holding the bitterness of the sedative on my tongue. Later, in the bathroom, I spat it out and replaced it with water from the tap. I saved a sample in a contact lens case. The next day, at my corporate lab, I ran a chromatographic analysis. The results confirmed it. A potent, fast-acting benzodiazepine mixed with a microdose of a drug used to induce catalepsy, a trance-like state. He wasn't just making me sleepy, he was trying to make me a puppet. This was my battlefield. He used finance and lies. I would use chemistry and truth. I began a double life. By day, the slightly spacey, forgetful wife, missing meetings, misplacing keys, feeding his narrative. By night, in my secure lab, I became an alchemist of revenge. My first creation, Echo, a contact powder derived from refined ochre fibers and a synthetic capsaicin analog. Invisible, odorless, it caused an intense, crawling itch that worsened with heat and sweat. I sprinkled it into the silk sheets of the cellar's hidden bed, onto the plush rug, into Anya's favorite bottle of body lotion. My second, Mirage, a subtle aerosolized compound that, when inhaled, caused mild visual distortions and paranoia. I introduced it into the ventilation system of the master suite and Marcus's study. The war was silent, biological, and brutal. Within days, the cracks appeared. Anya was constantly fidgeting, her skin marked with the red scratches she tried to hide under high collars. Marcus became jumpy, accusing the house of being drafty, his eyes darting to corners. They began to snip at each other, the stress of their hidden world amplified by the invisible agents tormenting their bodies and minds. I stoked the flames. I left a popular psychology magazine open on the coffee table, an article about shared psychosis in isolated couples, circled in red. I confused Anya's birth control pills with similar-looking aspirin, switching the bottles. Let the fear of an unwanted pregnancy add to their turmoil. Marcus, pressured by his looming debts, accelerated his plan. He arranged a dinner party with key investors from the rival company Silas Farm. He needed to publicly demonstrate my instability to validate the upcoming competency petition. The night of the party, I was the perfect fragile hostess. Until dessert. As Anya served a chocolate torte, I let my eyes go wide with terror. I stood up slowly, pointing a trembling finger at the rich, dark cake. "What? Blood!" I whispered, then screamed it. "It's blood on the plate! You're feeding us blood!" I swept my arm across the table, sending china crashing. I fell to my knees, sobbing about shadows in the wine and voices in the walls. I called Anya by my mother's name, pleading with her to stop the injections. The performance was a masterpiece of calculated hysteria. The investors recoiled in horror. Marcus's face cycled through shock, fury, and then a sickening, triumphant glee. He rushed to my side, the picture of the burdened, compassionate husband. "I'm so sorry, everyone. The stress of her work, the doctors, she's not well." He looked at the lead investor, Silas Croft, a vulture of a man. You see what I've been living with. The medical reports will be filed next week." Croft nodded, his eyes cold and satisfied. The deal was secure. The next morning, Marcus took me to a discreet private clinic in New Jersey. The doctor was a bought and paid-for hack. After a 10-minute evaluation, he signed the papers. Elena Vance exhibits severe paranoid schizophrenia with homicidal ideation, requires immediate involuntary commitment. Marcus held the order like a winning lottery ticket. That night, he and Anya celebrated in the cellar. I watched them on the hidden camera feed, toasting with expensive scotch to my impending imprisonment. It was time for the finale. I activated the final phase. Using a dummy account, I messaged Anya on a forum for au pairs, posing as a spiritual advisor. "Your employer's wife is ill, but her illness is a poison affecting the house. You feel it, don't you? The itching, the bad dreams. To protect yourself and your future, you must cleanse the space. Burn sage in the lower room at midnight. The smoke will drive out the sickness." Anya, paranoid and suggestible, took the bait. That night, as midnight approached, I ensured Leo was safe at a friend's house for a surprise sleepover. I then disabled the primary electrical feed to the cellar, leaving only the emergency lights. I locked the manual override on the hydraulic lift from the control panel I'd secretly wired into my closet. In the cellar, Marcus and Anya were arguing, their nerves frayed by echo and mirage. "Did you take my phone?" Marcus snarled. "Why would I touch your things? You're going crazy," Anya shot back. "Me? You're the one scratching like a stray cat." Then Anya, seeking to win favor or perhaps genuinely spooked, lit the bundle of sage. Thick, pungent smoke filled the sealed, airless room, mixing with the residual mirage aerosol. Chaos erupted. Choking, hallucinating, their paranoia amplified to psychosis, they turned on each other. Marcus, seeing Silas Croft's leering face in the shadows, screamed about betrayal and debt. Anya, believing I was a vengeful ghost in the smoke, shrieked apologies and accusations. "You told me to poison her tea. You greedy witch, you wanted her jewelry. The police know, I heard them. They know about the tunnel." "Shut up, the insurance doesn't pay if it's suicide." Their confession was a symphony of self-incrimination, recorded in crystal-clear audio by the very surveillance system Marcus had installed. At the peak of their frenzy, I called Marcus's cell phone. He answered, gasping. "Having fun playing doctor?" My voice was calm, icy. A beat of stunned silence, then a raw, guttural scream. "Elena! "What have you done? Let us out!" "You wanted me in a locked room, Marcus. Now you know how it feels." I paused. The police are listening, by the way. They quite enjoyed the part about the insurance. I hung up. Then I dialed 911. "Fire and rescue, please. My address. There are people trapped in a panic room. There's smoke. I think they were trying to destroy evidence." The arrival of 3 ambulances and 6 police cars turned our quiet Brooklyn block into a circus of flashing lights. Firefighters axed through the cellar door. They pulled out Marcus and Anya, not from a fire, but from a prison of their own making, babbling and incoherent, their secrets already bleeding into the public record. The evidence I provided, the files, the drug-laced milk samples, the financial forgeries, and the damning audio was overwhelming. Marcus Thorne was convicted on multiple counts of attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and illegal surveillance. He received a sentence that meant he would die in a cell. Anya, a pawn who became a willing participant, was deported after a shorter sentence. The brownstone was sold to pay restitution. Leo and I moved to a sun-drenched loft near the water. I left the corporate world and used the settlement funds to start the Lumina Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping victims of coercive control and financial abuse. My patent was preserved. My cure for that childhood disease is now in production, bearing my name alone. Sometimes, late at night, I check the locks. I look at Leo, sleeping peacefully in a simple, open-frame bed, and a wave of fierce, protective love washes over me. The monster under the bed is gone. It was never a ghost or a stranger. It was the man who promised to love us, who built a secret door to our destruction. I close my eyes. The dread is gone. In its place is a hard-won peace and the profound understanding that the most dangerous secrets aren't the ones hidden in tunnels. They are the ones hidden behind a smile in the light of day. I didn't just survive the monster. I dissected him, and in doing so, I reclaimed every stolen piece of our lives.